Hi class. As we're moving into week 10 of our semester, the next 2 weeks will be topics on job interviews and how to take a job interview or how to complete a job interview. And we're still using the Career Success Guide, so we'll be going through Module 3, Job Search, Interviewing with Confidence. And if I flip over to the Career Success Guide, to the Module 3, Interviewing with Confidence, you want to read the lesson that's posted here in the Career Success Guide. And there's general interview tips. So if you were to take a job interview and attend a job interview in Canada, before the interview, you want to make sure you know where you're going. You want to arrive early. You want to dress professionally. You want to review your resume so you know what's on there so that you can speak about each of the items on your resume if they ask you. Update your portfolio if you have one. You want to make sure your LinkedIn looks good. Put together, that's the outfit. And then you want to practice some questions and answers that you think they're going to ask you. And so I'm going to provide you with some practice questions before you get on to the interview. So some of the tips, during the interview, looking people in the eye when you're talking, not wearing a lot of perfume or scents, because a lot of companies have a scent policy now. They don't want people wearing scents because people are allergic to them. Not overdoing the makeup, not overdoing the jewelry, making sure that you practice good hygiene, you're clean and neat and tidy, that you dress professionally, that you use a positive attitude, and it says avoid negative words like I hate this or I dislike that or I refuse. Those are negative words. You want to keep it positive. Try not to use a lot of fillers like and the word like. And we all tend to do that. I do that as well sometimes, but we want to practice before we go to a job interview so that we're not using those words. So after the interview, you want to maybe follow up with the interviewer and ask how you did. Sometimes you can wait a week or so and then follow up just to say, would you mind providing me some feedback on how I did in the interview? Especially when you don't get the job, it's kind of interesting to find out what you did wrong so that you don't do that again in the next interview. After the interview, it's good to send a thank you note. Sometimes this is done in an email, but they say to write out a thank you note and drop it off for the person to thank you for their time. That's always good practice. It's very professional. People remember you then because they have to think about you again when they get your thank you note. So you'll read through the Career Success Guide, and it says common mistakes that people make: a lack of preparation, arriving late, improper appearance, a lack of confidence, negative attitude, inconsistency in your answers, right? So be careful with that. Failing to listen to the question carefully. And then when we do answer questions, and this little video here is going to talk about the STAR technique. This is sometimes called STAR, CAR, SAR, SOAR. Doesn't matter. It's really about answering with a story. So you want to say, this was the situation in my past work experience, the tasks that I carried out, the actions that I took, and the results that were achieved because of your actions. And the same thing in school. You can talk about a group project and how you took on a leadership role, and the result was that you were able to finish the project on time and that the group got a great mark. So that could be a story. Or how people were falling behind and you initiated, a WhatsApp group so that the group could communicate more effectively. So these are things that you could talk about, a story. And so you can practice your stories and the STAR stories so that when you take your job interview, you will be able to answer with one of these sort of stories. So that's the first part of the learning in this lesson, is practicing some interview questions, learning how to answer in STAR format or story format, where you say, here was the situation, this is what I did about it, and this was the result. They want to hear those sorts of things, right? They'll say, can you give me an example of a time when you had a difficult task in the workplace and you had to achieve some kind of result? And you can talk about a story at school if you don't have work experience, or you can talk about a work experience example. They might ask you, tell me a time when you had to be creative to solve a problem. They might ask you, what's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? And you want to be able to connect your answer to the job ad. So if the job advertisement is asking for certain requirements and skill set, then when you answer, you want to give examples that show or demonstrate those skills that you have them, and those are the skills that are asked for in the job interview. So you want to try to connect your story back to the job interview or the job ad to say, yes, I have those skills. So here's some more questions. It talks about some common interview questions. Tell me about yourself. They really don't want to know about yourself. This is your opportunity to tell them some things about yourself that relate to the job requirements that they're asking for. You know, I'm very adaptable. Like, for example, at school, often the plans change, or when this happened, we moved to the online format of learning, and I was able to be flexible and adaptable and adapt easily to that. Why are you looking for this job? Why did you leave your last job? Why do you want to work here? So you want to make sure, especially, that you know something about the company before you go into a job interview, because they might ask you questions about their company. Why do you want to work here? Well, you don't want to say, because I need money. We all need money. So you want to be able to say, I like the philosophy of your company, or I'm a regular shopper here at, Old Navy, and I'd like to work with people, and I have some customer service experience, so I thought I'd be a great fit for this job role. Or I've been shopping at Old Navy for years, and I appreciate the quality of your products and the style, and I think that I like to wear the clothes, so I would be a great advocate for the products and be able to sell to the customers. Wherever it is that you want to work, make sure that you know a little bit about the company. And then the lesson goes on to give you some tips on how to answer some of these questions. There's lots of websites out there that that can give you sample interview questions with answers or appropriate answers to help guide you in those answers. You want to practice with a few of those before we get on to our assignment, which is going to be to take a virtual job interview. So I've posted the assignment, and the assignment is the Big Interview mock interview. Because we're an online class, you will be going to this website and you'll be registering an account with Big Interview. And I've given you a code that you can use in the assignment, and what will happen in Big Interview is you will be asked to put that code in, and a virtual interview will take place. It's actually questions pop up with an avatar, pretend that's me or someone interviewing you, and you will be asked a question and you'll need to respond to it. You'll want to look at the camera, make sure that you're wearing a business professional shirt, that you look clean and tidy. You want to make sure that your background, the scenery that's showing behind you, is appropriate for a job interview. You do not want to be sitting on a bed in a bedroom. You do not want to be slouched over or sitting on the floor. You need to have an appropriate background, usually just a plain wall, or if you're sitting at a desk, table, and sort of not too much clutter behind you. You don't want anything inappropriate behind you. You don't want to be dressed inappropriately. So all of these things I will be grading as if you're taking a real interview. And today, in job interviews, a lot of times an employer will interview you first on the phone before having you come in. Sometimes they'll interview you through Skype if you're applying for a job in another province or far away. Instead of going there for the job interview, they do a Skype call or an online meeting, if you will. And then if they like what they see, like what they hear, they'll ask you to come in for an interview. So this is what we're working on this week. Weeks 10 to 11, and it's the lesson on job interviewing. So I'll post another interview next week, maybe with a few more tips on answering questions. But this is where we're working right now. And as I said, the assignment itself has been posted for the Big Interview assignment for practicing your interviewing. And if we go back to our main page in our course and we look at the due dates, we'll see when the virtual job interview is due March 27. So you'll have up till then to get an account in Big Interview, follow these instructions, log into Big Interview, and record the answers to the questions that I'm going to be asking you for your job interview. Remember to relate it back to the job that you're applying for. Remember to learn a little bit about the company before you answer the questions. And you're using the job interview or the job advertisement that you used with your resume, right? So assume that you're going into a job interview with your resume and you're interviewing for the job that you posted with the interview assignment. That is the job that you'll be interviewing on. So I'll be looking at your answers in the interview and relating them back to that job advertisement for that particular company that you applied to. Okay, thanks everyone.